This video is brought to you by CatBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
Boston Celtics fans nowadays must feel pretty weird having to cheer for a man named Isaiah Thomas, especially those fans who have been cheering for the Celtics since the mid-80s. Not because Isaiah is a bad person or because he is hated, but because the Celtics star point guard has the same name as Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was the Hall of Fame point guard for the Bad Boys era Detroit Pistons who tortured the Boston Celtics in countless playoff matchups. Despite this, the story behind Isaiah Thomas's name and how he got it has to be one of the most memorable origin of name stories that I have ever heard. Even Kobe Bryant's story of how he got his name doesn't top this one. For those of you who don't know the Kobe story, his father named him Kobe after a Japanese steakhouse in Philadelphia. The reason why the restaurant was called Kobe was because they sold a rare beef from Japan called Kobe as a dish. Anyways, many people tend to confuse Boston Celtics star Isaiah Thomas with Detroit legend and Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas. This video is going to be confusing. Although both names sound exactly the same, both players are actually not related to one another despite what many people think. As a matter of fact, both names aren't even spelt the same way aside from the Thomas part. Current Boston Celtics point guard Isaiah Thomas spells his name I-S-A-I-A-H, while his Detroit counterpart spells it I-S-I-A-H. So basically the difference is one A. His real name is spelled different than the legendary Pistons guard's first name for a reason. The Celtics star himself said, "My mom liked the name, but she wanted it spelt the biblical way." Thomas's mother, Tina Baltrip, decided to add the A to his name for the biblical spelling and to avoid confusion with the Detroit Pistons Hall of Famer. Growing up as a child, Thomas had the nicknames Big Head or Head from his father and Zeke from his mother after the other Isaiah Thomas's nicknames. Although both of their names were spelled differently, Isaiah Thomas was actually named after the Detroit legend. Sort of. But it was not because his parents were huge fans of the Detroit Pistons. It was actually for a completely opposite reason. Thomas actually got his name because his father lost a ridiculous bet. James Thomas grew up in Inglewood, California, where the Los Angeles Lakers played all their games at the Forum. Thomas's father was a Los Angeles native and a Lakers fan before he moved to Tacoma, Washington, where Thomas was born. As a huge Lakers fan, when James witnessed the Lakers destroy the Pistons in the 1988 NBA Finals, he decided to make a bad decision the following year. James was so sure that the two-time defending champion Lakers, after sweeping through the Western Conference playoffs undefeated, would beat Detroit in 1989. He was so confident that he made a bet with his best friend named Tony. The bet was if the Pistons won, he would name his son after Detroit's star point guard Isaiah Thomas. Unfortunately for him, the Lakers, despite their strong support from the two-star guards in Byron Scott and Magic Johnson, would be defeated by the Pistons in a 4-game sweep. After taking a loss, James decided to be a man of his word and go through with the bet. So when his son was born on February 7th, 1989, he gave him the Pistons point guard's name. Even though the younger Thomas ended up being born months before the finals took place, James had already given him the name. Eventually, James got used to the name and even came to like it, so it actually worked out in his favor. Growing up, Isaiah Jamar Thomas would constantly hear about his older counterpart and how he was a star player for the Pistons. When he learned of his accomplishments in Detroit, including winning 2 NBA championships and being arguably one of the best guards in NBA history, a young Isaiah felt he had to learn exactly who this man was and why their names sounded exactly the same. So he did what any other young NBA fan would do. He started watching his highlights. After doing this, he immediately looked up to the older Isaiah and even began to wear his jersey number in games, which was number 11. At his high school games, opposing fans would confuse Isaiah with the Detroit Pistons guard and make fun of him by saying he would never be like his dad and that his dad was a horrible coach. Despite this, Isaiah would just laugh it off, knowing that the two were not even related to one another. However, young Isaiah Thomas said he knows Isaiah Thomas very well. The two had actually met one another and had developed a friendly relationship. Isaiah Thomas of the Celtics said, "He's like a mentor to me. I've got a close relationship with him. I talk to him a couple times a week. He's a big mentor and I appreciate him." When asked if he wished the Lakers had won the series the year his dad had bet his name, he said, "Not really. It's fun to have a story behind your name." And that's true. Not only that, but Thomas is actually living up to his counterpart's legacy. At the time this video is being made, the 28-year-old 5'9" guard for the Celtics is averaging 29.6 points per game, 6.2 assists per game, and 2.8 rebounds per game. Although he's only 5'9", there's nobody more terrifying in the fourth quarter than Isaiah Thomas. He has scored 15 or more points in the fourth quarter 10 times this year, twice as many as any other player. He's averaging 10.5 points in the fourth quarter. To put that in perspective, no other player has averaged double digits in any quarter in over 20 years. That's a fairly impressive accolade for a player who has come such a long way, but he still has a lot of time to improve. This is just the beginning. And that concludes the video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If I made any mistakes or missed anything that you felt should have been included, let me know. Also, if you have any recommendations for future videos such as interesting stories or topics like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching NBA Insider.